What's up, guys? That Really Gross Guy here, and we are back, and we're checking out another Fashion Frame episode with Valkyr. This is going to be what I'm going to call my Jailbroken Valkyr, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what you're seeing on screen right now is Valkyr the way she was before she was captured, and she had her skin removed, and she was experimented on. This is a beautiful looking frame. She is very aggressive. She's got her fang weapons. Actually, I believe she's using the dual ethers. But this is not actually the fashion frame for today's episode. This is kind of my look at what Valkyr was prior to her experimentation. But today's fashion frame is actually going to be the opposite. This is going to be what happened after V had experimented on her and really messed her up. So what I like to think for this build is, after being violated, after being experimented on by V, this Valkyr somehow was reactivated, and in whatever room she was in, wherever she was dumped, she managed to get out, maybe by toggling her hysteria, maybe going absolutely berserk and killing the Corpus around her. And while she did that, she picked up the Quanta, a set of dual Sestras. For this video, I'm using the Securas because, it's just utility. And then she picked up the Lecta. You could also use the Secura Lecta if you want as well. But she used these Corpus weapons to fight back against the Corpus. She adapted the Corpus technology herself, and she fought back because she was pissed off about what happened to her. This Valkyr, to some degree, has kind of become ashamed of what she is, and she would prefer to use her weapons rather than succumbing to the hysteria and just going berserk on her enemies. But every once in a while, she gives into that temptation when she is in trouble, and she just absolutely goes berserk. Her hysteria kicks in, and she starts slaughtering enemies because she just can't help it. I like to think maybe her previous form was very melee intensive. Someone that would use those dual ethers or those fang type weapons, almost like her feline form, where she would still be melee oriented, and she's tried to give that up after she's been experimented, after she's been changed. She tried to give that up, but there's those instances where she just can't help it. She knows she's in trouble, and her instinct takes over. She goes into hysteria, and she just goes crazy. So I remember starting this build way back when the Secura Dual Sestras became a thing and the Quanta was out. I felt like it kind of fit her at the moment. So just keep in mind that just because I'm using the Quanta and the Lecta and the Secura Dual Sestras doesn't necessarily mean that this build needs to be limited to those weapons. I felt like this would be a great build for any Corpus design, and now that the Archiplasmor is out, and maybe you prefer like the Ferox or something with this type of build, that's absolutely fine. Whatever Valkyr found in the room she was at, or whatever enemy she killed when she took their weapons, would totally fit this build. The one thing that I didn't want to do is actually make this a Secura or a parent sequence based frame, because the parent sequence are more about trade. They're more about like just goods, selling goods and stuff like that. I felt like that wasn't really Valkyr. Valkyr was someone who had been betrayed, or someone who had been, heavily damaged, scarred, and she was more about, adapting that Corpus technology and turning it against the Corpus. So for anyone who wants to do a Secura dual session, or like a Secura or parent sequence type build, while these colors and stuff may work, there's kind of a different backstory you probably have to go with for this type of build. But I kept kind of the experimental kind of idea behind this because I just really like it. So now, when it boils all down to aesthetics, how did I specifically build this Valkyr or design this Valkyr? So I wanted to keep with these blues and black colors for sure, and then on top of that, when it comes to her attachments, I wanted to keep it energy based, or something that would give us a Corpus feel. So I stuck with the Dendra plates, the Dendra attachments for both her arms and her legs. I felt like it just kind of worked. On her back, I know there are a few different Corpus design Syandanas that would be pretty useful. However, I really thought that the Disconnect Syandana by Faven and the Tenojin worked perfectly, because I imagine that Valkyr to some degree was hooked up and attached to some sort of machine or cryopod or something, and she disconnected herself from it, or at some point she was disconnected and those cables were still there, which is why I also feel like it fits pretty well with her attachments on her arm. These can be purchased in the market for a few plat, but they're called Valkyr's bonds. The fact that the cables from her arms and the cables off her back are pretty much the same kind of design, I thought they would actually fit her pretty perfectly. From time to time I do tend to take them off because I feel like there's a little bit too much swing when I'm in combat, something like that, but you could also, like I said, use another Syandana on her back that fits the Corpus theme, or I actually like the Prisma Hecate, I believe is what it's called, the little dangly type Syandana that I think looks kind of like a feline type Syandana, something that would fit her pretty well. And last but not least, I put on the Bastet helmet because I felt like it kind of gave that feline feel, and I felt like it just fit her really, really well. So I left those as is. But that's going to be it for my Jailbroken Valkyr. I named her that because I felt like Jailbroken for like electronics is something that has been broken and hacked into in order to change it. And I felt like that kind of fit Valkyr because the Corpus kind of broke into her and damaged her in order to kind of use her in a different way. So I felt like it just fit. So that's going to be it from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. A thumbs up or a subscription would be awesome if you like the content. And I'm going to try and do more of these if possible. I do have another Valkyr with a totally different design. If you are curious about that, I can do that in the future. But I have a lot of Fashion Frame to go through. So thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you guys again soon. And until then, blow!